Good morning, you beautiful souls. Welcome to another episode of Chat with Kat today. I am so excited to have you here where we're building connections through self, through each other, and through love. I am so excited to share this episode on triggers, and I feel like moving from triggers to embodiment is the exact vibe of today. So, how do you do that? Before we get started, I just wanted to kick this off by saying this couldn't have been more perfect timing because this morning I am feeling so anxious, like I'm about to throw up. And it's not because I'm sick, it's because I am being triggered on a whole new level right now in this moment. Last night I had a portal shift, a huge shift, not only throughout the day with everything I went through in my mind, but everything that I went through last night in my dreams. And I knew last night before I went to bed that I was going to wake up in my new timeline. So what does that mean? I'm not out there at 7 o'clock this morning chasing orders. I'm here with you today because I'm stepping into the aligned version of me who already has the life that I know I'm here to create with the overflow, with the abundance. So me not being out there on a Monday morning, my body is in full panic mode because I'm like, you're missing out. What if you could get an order in before you take your dog to the vet? Blah, 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 blah. But you know what that feels like to me this morning? Frantic, rushed. It just doesn't feel good. And if you're going into your Monday like that, it's time to recalibrate that energy because what's going to start your week and your day out is that energy. And nobody wants to be in that energy and have that be what comes to fruition. Am I right? So I just wanted to share that little nugget before we dive into triggers today. So thank you for listening. Um, because this is a huge moment for me. It's a huge portal, and I couldn't think of a better time or place, honestly, to be in to share it. And I'm just going to pull up a few things I wrote down last night because I want to make sure this episode is amazing for you guys. So when you hear the word trigger, what does that bring up for you? Is it reminding you of things that just set you off, that irritate you, that just push your buttons? For those of you who are listening and can't see me, I was pushing your buttons. And before I tell you the juiciest secret about moving from triggers to embodiment, I want to share a little story with you today. I had two conversations 2 weeks ago. Now, the 3 days leading up to this, my car started making funky noises. I was advised to not drive it based on what I was saying. They said, your steering could go. Do not drive. Immediately, I freaked out because I do personal shopping. I need my car for the job that I currently have. So, no driving, no money. Also, I was like, maybe this is the exact step I need to move into my workshop on the Tuesday. So this started happening on Saturday. On the Tuesday, I had a workshop and I was like, everything's aligned. This is what I'm meant to be doing. So I actually took it as a sign and got really excited. The morning of my workshop didn't go as planned. No one could come live. I was still going to record it anyway. And here's what ended up happening that day. I had two conversations with two different friends. One of them, I had to be honest in how I felt, and the other one, they were being honest in how they felt. I don't know how things are going to go. And I learned this a long while back when I was at a personal development seminar is you can't control how others are going to take what you say. You can't control how they're going to react. So, with the one conversation, I was just open, honest, and truthful. They took it how they took it. And it was the biggest blessing for me because it was exactly what I needed in that moment. It triggered me to understand my mission. So I'm forever grateful. The second conversation, I knew she was coming from a place of love and I knew her intention. And I'm honestly so grateful for that one too, because in that conversation, it allowed me to, despite all the chaos that was already going on in my world, I took a step back and I said, I'm just going to listen. My intention was I want her to feel seen and heard and felt for how she was feeling. And the intention for me was I'm not going to react and I'm not going to make it mean something about me. I did just those two things. And that conversation turned out beautiful. It was the most beautiful connection because in that moment, I was like so proud of how it went. Because all my life, I've been told I'm emotional, I'm negative, I'm reactive, I wear my heart on my sleeve. And you guys, that's like the biggest compliment now. And with the other one, the other experience I had, it taught me exactly what triggers meant. It meant that sometimes when we're triggered, we're projecting our own insecurities out on others, and that's why we're reacting to what other people are saying to us. And when you're doing that, there's no connection. The communication isn't there. And I'm not gonna lie, I was a little mad at first. But what happened after this whole thing that day is that I felt a beam of love go all the way through my body. It cracked my soul open in the most profound way. I felt love for the first time in my life. And I was like, this is what people are talking about when they say they felt God, or they felt Christ consciousness, or they felt oneness or connectedness. And in that moment, my mission became clear, was that every time you're around somebody, whether it's in person, whether it's online, if you're projecting your pain out onto them, that's not coming from a place of love. And it doesn't feel good for you either, because all you want is someone to understand where you're at. But by saying hurtful things or being mean or bullying people online, you're not actually getting what you want. You want to receive love. I'm here to help people understand that feeling, reconnect to themselves, and connect to the oneness that we all are. That is my mission. And I'm so excited I get to share it with you. And that by facing your challenges and your triggers from a different light and a different perspective is what embodiment is. I'm here to help you with that as well because I understand it now. I get it now. Triggers aren't there to push your buttons and make you mad. They're there to crack you open, to show you more depth of your greatness, more depth of who you are. It's actually here to crack open the greatness within you. So when you're faced with challenges, tell me in the comments how many of you have gone through a challenge over and over and over again, and you're almost frustrated because you're like, how many ways can I solve this challenge? And then it seems to just keep popping up in different ways. I used to get so frustrated about that, you guys, because I was like, I've done all this work, I've done all this healing, I've done all this shifting, and yet the same thing still keeps coming up in a different way. And people say, well, you didn't learn the lesson. How did I not learn the lesson? I felt like I grew from it. I felt like I did learn something from it. I could have learned how to handle the experience different, but I wasn't learning how to embody who I was in that moment. I wasn't proud of myself. I wasn't loving myself. Therefore, if I'm not doing that for me, how is my connection going to grow with you? It's not. So when you take away the reaction when you're in a situation, you disrupt the pattern because now you're no longer reacting to it with whatever that emotion is that's coming up for you. Generally, it's frustration, anger, fear, worry, stress. Then what happens is the emotion will dissolve and you stop taking things personally. I understand what letting go means now. I understand love. I understand my mission. And that is to help you feel this love by guiding you back to yourself, to source, whatever you say, God, oneness, Christ consciousness, and to love. It's about feeling the feeling before the experience. A lot of times we think we have to face the challenge first. But if you go into the challenge already knowing the feeling, embodying who you truly are, you get a new experience. Many of us are trying to have a new experience created from the same emotional reactions that we already have. So the awareness around these two interactions taught me something powerful. The first one, I kept coming across to my friend a bit negative or always seeing the downside in things. And negative is a trigger for me, if you know. I've worked so hard in my life to not be called negative anymore. And that's not what she meant. She wasn't meaning I was a negative person. But what was happening is I was getting excited. I would go to share my idea or what I'm excited about before I've even put anything into action, because that's who I am. I love getting excited over new things. But then what was happening, I didn't even realize it. It was just subconsciously. In my mind, I was sharing why I was excited. What was coming out of my mouth was the doubt and the disappointment of what could happen before I even moved. Because you know what? If I say it first, they're not putting me down. If I say it first, I'm not disappointed by their reaction. What the hey? Isn't that crazy? So subconsciously, so say I was like, oh, I have this awesome idea, I want to do this, and this. But it probably won't work anyway, or I would need to find the money, or blah, 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 blah. I would always make some reason or excuse as to why it probably wouldn't happen. Or before they could say, well, you've done all these things before and they haven't really worked out. So before they could say that, I was already saying it. So do you see how I was like self-sabotaging myself without even realizing it? But until she came to me and mentioned that, in my brain, I'm like, can you give me an example? Because I thought our conversation went good. I had no idea that it was coming across the opposite way. That was the biggest gift and blessing that she had the bravery to step up and share that with me because it did enlighten me. The other conversation, I normally would have felt hurt and disappointed because the intention wasn't to upset the other person. But what I realized in that moment is our spiritual community can be all high and mighty sometimes. And what I mean by that is that when people have achieved a level of growth, they talk down as if they know everything. They've figured it out. So if you're not getting the result and you're working with these people, it comes across very condescending. And I've been in containers like that. And I just thought, I'm literally just asking a question. Because I honestly am the biggest action taker. Like, you should be happy that you're working with somebody who will literally go and take action at 3 in the morning. Instead, I was getting a very vague, nonchalant answer. Like, what do you mean that there's always going to be peaks and valleys in your business? I joined because you said I was going to make 10 grand every month. Now you're telling me I'm not. So I'm curious, right? But I've also been in containers where they're like, you need to have polarizing content. You need to trigger people. You need to like pull something out of people. I understand pulling something out of somebody, but it's to show them their gifts and their greatness. It's not to make them feel put down. I understand both sides of where this is coming from. So I don't believe in the polarizing stuff anymore. If you have to say something belittling, even jokingly, to do something to make somebody grow, I don't agree with that. And I've done it, okay? I have done it. I'm not preaching that I am like all godly, but we all are. That's not acting out of love in my mind. So if you're going out there and you're being polarizing, just be weary. You're going to trigger and offend people no matter what. I get it. And that could come back, and that's what people are going to say on this podcast. Well, it doesn't matter. You can't please everybody. No, you can't. But you can still act out of love and not be a dick. Just saying. So, people want to feel seen, heard, and felt. They want to feel understood. That is your job in whatever capacity you're helping others in. I don't care if you work at the grocery store or the gas station. I don't care if you're a multi-million-dollar coach. Your job is to help others feel loved, period. That is what I'm going to work towards going forward because that's what we're here to do. So if you're somebody that is talking about oneness, connectedness, unity consciousness, being together as one to raise the vibration of this planet, and you're out there putting people down and shaming people and guilting people, that's not oneness. That is not love. That is not connectedness. So that's where we're at with triggers. If you are feeling triggered by a challenge you're facing, you're stressed out by something somebody says, and you want to understand how to move through that by knowing the feeling that comes from handling it the way that it cracks you open so you can embody love and share that and your gifts and share that, reach out to me. I would love to have a conversation with you. If you enjoyed this episode today, please share in the comments. Please give me some love. You know what I'm saying? And as always, please feel free to reach out. I do have a workshop this upcoming Friday. It is a live workshop on quantum shifting. It's going to be hot seat coaching only. There's only 10 spots. There's already a few taken. $30. The link is in the description. I would love to have you there. It will not be recorded because this is hot seat coaching. You are going to get out of it more than what you came in with. Let me tell you that for sure. I am so excited to do this workshop. Other than that, my stand store has been revamped. It is up and running. That link is also here. Follow me on the Tiki-Taki because that's where all the magic happens, and I love the community on there. And as always, I hope something incredibly amazing happens for you today. Thank you for watching another episode or tuning in to another episode of Chat with Kat. We'll see you next week. And I don't know what next week will be about yet, but we will see.